and I would not refuse anybody on a team who has Masterwork. Today we are going to be testing out the Masterwork robes, the new tier 100 robe set for Magic that is craftable and is supposed to be the best in slot casual player robe. What does that even mean? Apparently it's like if you're bad at the game, you can somehow get a little bit better because this will make it that you have a higher survivability while being able to put out a competitive amount of damage. This is perfect for anybody that is trying to get into a new boss, somebody that is just trying to do something that is not as intense, having like do prayer swapping and so on and so forth, and that is perfectly what I am. So today we're going to be testing it to see if it is worth currently the 1.7 bill price tag. Now, why would you want to use Masterwork robes as opposed to using the Elite Tectonic or any Tectonic variant? Now, first and foremost, if you are using the base Tectonic variant, this is a straight up upgrade. It is going to provide you life bonuses and it has a higher magic bonus, as well as having the passive where every time you take damage, you receive 10% of the incoming damage is delayed and dealt over the next 6 seconds, up to 50% of that damage being delayed and dealt over the next 6 seconds if you're wearing the full set. For most of this video, I'm going to be using the 4-piece because of the glove slot is the most competitive slot in terms of like what you swap out all the time because there's Cinderbanes and also the enhanced care pack gloves. I think this is going to be a really solid set, and because of the life bonus and the flat bonus damage that you get from just using the skill in general. First boss on the chopping block is the tree man himself, a Solak. And I specifically wanted to see how this felt during the second phase where all the bombs are blowing up during a storm skip. A storm skip is essentially when all these bombs blow up during, and is the most dangerous part of the fight, hands down, because you are just face tanking the entire thing. I have a horrible problem of consuming brews, and it has been a breeze using the Masterwork armor. I also chose Solak because it is not a boss I am completely a master of. This is something more so that I wanted to know if someone who is not very versed in a boss fight can go in there and have the opportunity to be able to learn. And I think the Masterwork armor does provide you that instance of where you're going to be taking a lot more damage throughout the fight, and you're going to be able to learn how, because you're going to be getting a lot of that damage mitigated, which is tremendous for any type of person learning or who just wants a much easier time going through the fight. It is noticeable on some of the damage drop off because Masterwork does not provide the critical strike chance that Elite Tectonic does, and when you are using the Fractured Staff and you have that 15% to 30% added critical strike damage, you are going to notice when you are not getting those enhanced critically striked hits. It's going to be very noticeable, and I would not recommend the Masterwork armor if you are going for speed kills, anything combat achievement related like Master Time speed kills or Grandmaster speed kills. However, though, I did take it into Unorthodox Solak, and it went beautifully. It saved me in few instances because instead of getting one shot, I got half shot, and getting half shot was way more manageable than fucking trying to land anything else when I'm getting blown up into 8 pieces by every single bomb in the room. After that Solak hour, it went pretty good. I think it did pretty good. Only part that I was really struggling with was when he was beginning his phasing from phase, when you're beginning like the storm skip, when he's like pummeling you and you gotta take down the HP. That was kind of difficult, and you really noticed the damage that was coming through. But the beginning portion of the fight and towards the end of the fight, it was tremendous. I think it was very good, soaking up the damage and like delaying the hits, and your soul split was able to do a lot. If you're camping your prayer, that will help a lot, cycling your defenses and stuff. But overall, I'm happy with like the damage I'm putting out and the survivability I have. Plus having 15k base health is it's pretty good, so I'm not upset about that at all. Next up is Raksha. Now, I don't do any pre-builds when you go into Raksha. I really just come in here. I'm pretty consistent when it comes to pool skipping. I feel very comfortable with it, and I'm also pretty good at the prey flicking. But if you try and camp soul split this whole time, you could maybe get away with it, but I think that prey swapping is going to be pretty decent. And I think most people that would be using and trying to figure this out will be using the Masterwork armor. I do like the damage that you get from your basic abilities and all the other stuff like that, because those things measure purely off of the ability damage. And my favorite part about the armor is right here. When you're taking the rocks, instead of getting big fat hits, you're only taking these small amounts of damage. And that is really good for your survivability when you're trying to figure out how to go through this fight for the first time. So we're going to attempt a pool skip here. Gonna build up for it. I made a critical error here and began the preparation for pool skipping way too late. This is a really good example how you can salvage the kill. I was not able to get the full skip here. However, the Masterwork was able to save me a lot with the Rock Slam because the damage is being split up, which is really nice. Now, that was a bad execution on my end. I didn't realize how low he was getting. But let's see how you can tank test this. So say you failed it. Let me phase at 131. So I failed the pool skip, but I'm still sitting pretty. I've only had one piece of my blubber, and that's mostly attesting to how the armor is. The base damage from it is pretty solid, and I am noticing the temporal resets. We had 3 Omnis not too long ago at the beginning of the fight. I didn't think I was going to notice it as much, but it is quite noticeable how much the Omni is resetting, and like your strong abilities are resetting because of temporal anomaly. I didn't think it was going to be very substantial, but I was very, very happy to notice that it is actually happening quite often. I noticed it a lot at Solak. Got a wand spec here, sitting at super low HP, letting the armor work. There we go. Now, I think that was pretty solid. That felt pretty good. It's like on average for the kill times I'm getting versus Tectonic, but the pool skipping is a little bit more consistent because of the crits, but I also failed to set that up properly. I think it overall feels pretty solid. I'm not upset about it. I think if this is your first set and you're like trying to decide if you should lean towards Crypt Bloom or Tectonic, I think this is a nice steady medium between the two of them. It feels like a very, very solid set. The added health bonus that you get from the armor is really, really carrying, and only using 4 pieces. So you could max it out at 5 pieces, but the glove component is very, very strong, and you will notice a lack of DPS using a different set of gloves, but maybe the temporal reset portions will be worth it. And now for the final boss, we're going to be testing out at hard mode Sanctum. I think this is going to be where it really shines, because there is a lot of hard-hitting mechanics here, and they kind of come at you in like very reasonable amounts, but you seeing the delayed hits would be very, very good to see, giving that chance for the soul split to work even a little harder. Something I was worried about is like if you're healing right from a hit, do you get the full res or do you get partial res because the damage is being delayed? You do get the full res indeed. There's a temporal anomaly reset right there with double omnis. A lot of times you may not think it's resetting a lot of abilities. It just may not be resetting a lot of abilities that you want to be reset, right? So a lot of times I get combust, or I'm getting corruption blast, or the bleeds that I want to be able to catch, and it can be a little bit frustrating, but all in all, it's pretty solid. We missed a soul there. We're gonna back it up, back and dive, catch that one, and now we can go full DPS here. Got a wand reset there. I think this would have been a pretty decent time if I didn't miss that first bomb, but I barely used any food, and I was tanking both sides. It was pretty good. Some people don't like how the armor looks, dude. If y'all new to the channel, y'all know I love my hats, bro. This is crazy, man. One of my favorite games is Red Dead Redemption 2, and this is like literally Space Cowboy, bro. Like you can't unsee it. I saw the comment on Reddit, and you know what, dude? I kind of fuck with it. So we're gonna drop a Dreadnought here, get those stuns going. Cute little tip for you for Vermix here. Your Dreadnought stun him, so those stuns add up because he is a stunnable boss. Usually I end up eating food here at this big guy. Damage I think is respectable. Used the freedom too early there. See if it can break us out of jail. It can break us out of jail. Now let's see how it holds up against the pillars. You save the wand specs for the pillars, and if you only have the wand set, you'll do pretty decent damage just using the wands if you are getting into magic. So I don't feel bad about if you don't have a fractured staff. You'll still do pretty respectable damage, especially for if you're just getting into it. It's a pretty big investment to start buying a bunch of different weapons for it, but because I really enjoy magic, it's one of my favorite styles in the game, why I decided to invest in it. And that's why I was very excited to get this armor and finally test it out. Got a tsunami reset there, Econk reset there. We're gonna take this bomb. So now that usually it's a 6k hit, we got a 4k hit and it's bleeding over that 4k damage. You can see how much damage is being delayed over here. The Masterwork stalled Masterwork damage is gonna give you how much you're gonna be bleeding over time. So here come the bugs. We're gonna reflect the pot here. Perfect. And now we'll get ready for the statues. We still have wand spec again. We'll wand spec here. Got a reset in the wand. Reset number just 1. Again, pretty much foodless. I'm excited to see how this feels in the Nakatra. The Nakatra will be the big tell if this is actually legit or not. Got our Omni reset there. Got another Omni reset. Now, the problem is you don't have all the adrenaline for the Omnis. Fantastic. And he's dead. 3 minutes. Pretty decent. Same, almost on par the same time that I have using the Elite Tectonic, to be honest. All right, time to try out Nakatra to see how she feels. I'm going to still use Temporal Anomaly inside Nakatra. Typically, some people like to use Darkness, but for the sake of seeing how many resets we can end up getting, I want to use Temporal to see if that affects the overall kill time. But the main thing I'm looking for is if you can survive with less food consumption. Because that's the whole point, right? It's to help people who are trying to get into a bit harder content, if this will actually be a good stepping stone for you to get into the game, get into those harder bits of the game that you might be a little too scared to do, or that you think Crypt Bloom will hold you back a little bit too much. Nakatra hits pretty hard, so it's going to be very, very noticeable with her damage, especially on the next mechanic. Here we go, we use Devotion here. So far, the food is pretty good. The delayed hits are helping a ton. I'm still sitting at 15k HP. This is with the only the bonfire buff, so now we should be getting a reflect. We'll Vit Pot here. We'll res one, and those hits are delayed now. Usually it's like a 4k hit, 2 or 3 4k hit, and now it's being delayed over the next few seconds, which makes it a lot more manageable to deal with. So in case that way, if you get bursted out, you have a little bit of time to like react and keep the kill going, which is going to be ultimately the main thing, right? You just want to try and succeed. Drop the stun down, back to the magic square. Should be getting bugs here. Perfect for the threshold here. Okay, only had one piece of blubber so far. Potion. Now this is slower. Typically it's phased here. Let's say you miss a prayer, right? Full res. Here we go. 159 to phase. And now for the dogs, the big DPS test. Got a wand reset here. Not looking like we're gonna get the skip here on the heal. That's fine. We'll 2-cycle the dogs. Now mind you, will your results if you try out Nakatra for the first time look like this with very, very little food consumption? Probably not. However, you should be able to have an easier time going through that first phase, and that's gonna get you a lot of progress and experience already. I think it's going pretty good though. We got our two symbols of monkey and man. Doing pretty good. Getting smacked by the gorillas in here. Crescent is our symbol. Got a Tsunami reset there. Very, very good. Comes the next bit here. Gonna reflect. Res, Vit Pot. Take a step back. Got an Omni reset right there. Huge. That was pretty good. 100k HP on the first one. Still touched barely any food. Just tremendous. Going pretty good. Not gonna lie, I got a little nervous because I was trying to get the one cycle. I've never been able to one cycle, so that was pretty decent. But still, even with that try hard moment, able to secure what most of you can. Tornado Man. Press it again, and there we go. That's the Katra with barely any food used, dude. That is incredible. That is truly incredible. I am actually way more impressed with how easy that was compared to what it is normally. So I'll definitely take that. I think that's a tremendous way to get into hard mode Katra if you're trying to use magic. And the final thing I would like to try out is a few Slayer mobs just to see overall how it feels there, because I think that this is supposed to be the best in slot mage armor, best in slot mage Slayer armor, because you can easily repair these with whetstones and all the bits and don't have to do anything else crazy like how the Masterwork melee armor is. So I want to test out a few Slayer mobs just to see how that feels overall, and then I'll give my final thoughts. So I've decided to force a Abyssal Lord's task. Main reason why is because Abyssal Lord is one of the strongest Slayer mobs in the game and typically require either Death Warden from Necromancy or Crypt Bloom to get through it. If you're trying to like AFK it. So we're gonna force that task to see if it can withstand that. Then I'm sold. So here we are in Big Daddy's dungeon, the Sanctum Slayer crypt essentially, and these are the Abyssal Lords. They are incredibly formidable, and we're coming in with 4-piece Masterwork with Cinderbanes because these are poisonable creatures. We're gonna go ahead and throw Maniacal off, and then we're gonna use what typically people would end up doing, which is vampirism or penance. I think I'm actually gonna end up doing penance because I don't have powders, so we're gonna end up doing that. And so like all the damage mitigation will be coming off of the armor. You could be using darkness, but I'm gonna keep using temporal anomaly to see how that overall feels and see if it's end up gonna be worth it. I'll rearrange the bar just a tad here. All right, should be good to go. Let's get this cannon going. We only have our legendary pet with us. We don't have any other hellhound or damage mitigation here. As you can see, just Titus, our legendary pet. And now we're gonna use base overloads. See how that feels. The weapon poison going, soul split. See if the damage mitigation will help with us surviving this boss. Well, I guess these are like small mini bosses. Immediately, I can notice that it's actually quite brutal to try and get through these because they are still hitting you pretty hard, and immediately saved. I don't think you can use temporal anomaly at Slayer at the Abyssal Lords. Let's see if darkness will save us a little bit better, and if not, let's see if you can mix and match a couple pieces of Crypt Bloom to help out with that. If you guys actually run out of teleports with the Abyssal Mask, you can actually just set your teleport to Sanctum and go to the archaeology site using the Master Archaeology outfit, and that takes you right outside if you ever run out of teleports using the mask. So we're gonna take 2 pieces of Crypt Bloom with us just to see if that's gonna end up being the deciding factor if you have to end up using Crypt Bloom here, just to get some of that added damage reduction, and then you'll swap to Animate Dead instead. I think this is gonna be one of those tasks where this might not shine, but I think in any other task, I think it would. I think it would work fine. Just looking at the stats and the health points that you end up with, it's pretty amazing. We got darkness running now, and the stuff is still set up along with the weapon poison. Fall down, drink the aggression pot, get rolling. See if darkness saves us here. So right now we're in 4-piece again. Having the power armor is actually quite important for these guys because you don't have 100% accuracy on them, and your accuracy is directly correlated with your your damage to them. So having any other type of magic bonus to mitigate and add into whatever your base accuracy is going to help a lot with this task. Now, obviously, Tectonic is tank armor, so it doesn't provide any damage bonus. So your damage is quite higher using the Masterwork stuff as opposed to just using your base Tectonic. So as there's more mobs beginning to jump on you and the tentacles start being a little bit more frequent, it does get a little bit harder to keep that sustain up. Now, what if you swap to Blood Barrage, which does 5% healing on all of your ability damage? Maybe that's going to be enough to help mitigate. Now, again, if you have a Masterwork staff, I think the 2% healing on all ability damage will help tremendously, and that would be the pretty much everything you need to sustain this for the most part. I don't have a Masterwork staff yet, but I do plan to hopefully pick one up soon, and then we'll test that one out as well when it comes to doing Slayer stuff. Let's see how fast is the grading. We're at 94.3%. I've only used it for about a day. Keep repairing all the parts. It's gonna end up being like around like 6 or 7 mil, I believe, to repair and get everything that you need fixed. Well, I think honestly it's doing pretty good, and it's a pretty low maintenance cost as well. Now, after swapping to darkness, I do notice it is a lot easier, and I am actually quite impressed that you're able to sustain this. I think you could do an entire task here. I'm already down to, we had to start off at 180 KC. We're already down to 125 with 0 issue. But all in all, I think the armor has been a success. I'm very, very happy with it. I was actually very, very pleased with the outcome when it comes to the damage output, the survivability, to the ease of using it. It is noticeable that you have less critical strike chance, and with the fracture staff getting critical strike damage bonuses, it is going to be probably king if you are going for speed times or if you're just trying to be a sweat. But if you are trying to be like just get into magic and you want to pick up some armor that'll carry you for a long time before you want to min-max, this is definitely a solid option, and I would not refuse anybody on a team who has Masterwork mage armor. I think this is going to be pretty solid, a big staple for the casual and the noob, and I think it's going to be pretty solid. If you're interested to see how I actually ended up making the armor, check out this video. Appreciate it, man. Please subscribe. Take care.